then imagine if the tree looks up at the stars and say, how come I'm a tree and I'm not a star? But
Exactly.
the star then looks up at the next galaxy and says, hey, I'm right in the corner. How come I'm not, Milky Way, And that's Korah.
Right, right, right.
אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי, טהורה.
Parshat Korah, and again with the Slonimer, and for those of you out there who happen to have the book, the Netivot Shalom by the Slonimer Rebbe, by Avraham Noach Berzhovsky, the late. And we're going to try something new today, especially for those who are with us, are going to follow us on YouTube, on the Zoom. We're going to be sharing for a moment the screen with the text, because we thank you for those of you who gave us the feedback about the text. There's some people who want to follow the text and want to be able to actually know which paragraph we're reading, and sometimes we skip a little bit, so it becomes a little difficult for people. So I want to accommodate that, and what I'm going to, and you can see it on the screen now as well. We're in again page Kufvav, the Aaron Ma'u Kitalinu Alav. So, and the feedback I got, Rebelli, was that when I skip, I should say what are the first few words of the paragraph I skipped to, just to help people, give them markers, etc. So if I forget, please remind me. I want to try to make that a habit, to be a little more conscious of people who are actually following us in the Hebrew. So we're starting the Haron Ma'u Kitalinu Alav. In fact, I don't plan on skipping a lot here. We're going to do a short paragraph. Well, this is fascinating. We should jump right into it. So what we're looking at here is there's a paragraph in the parsha where Korah is a leader in among the people. He's a Levite. He's a dignitary. He's and the Slonimer will talk about that a little bit. It's significant to the discussion. And he challenges Moshe and Aaron. He challenges Moses and Aaron. And he says, "How come? Who made you a leader? I want to be the leader. I'm at least as good as you. And I want to. I'd like to challenge your leadership." So this is about a challenge to leadership. This is what this parsha is about. And we know the end of the story is that Korah actually loses that, in that challenge, in that tension dynamic of really it's a rebellion. He ends up losing and dying. He and his followers, 250 followers and a couple of other leaders. And the question is why? So the Slonimer here is going to analyze the verse. So Moses is responding to Korah when Korah is challenging. He says, how come you're being so defiant or critical of Aaron? Aaron is the high priest, right? That's literally what it is. How come you're talino? How come you're complaining about Aaron? What's a true leader? What qualities make it such that somebody can hold the office of a sacred, the highest and most sacred office of that whole system, of that whole society, which is, to be clear, Aaron is the high priest. So he presides over the tabernacle, and he presides over all the spiritual life. You could say, you can say like the Pope. right? So the Pope is at the top of the hierarchy of of the church, and Aaron, we don't have that in Jewish culture right now. It doesn't, since the destruction of the temple, that doesn't exist anymore. But at that time, the system was that there was one man that was at the top of the hierarchy, and to be that man, to be that leader, it took a special kind of characteristic, and this is what we're going to analyze here with the Slonimer. So here we go. Ita bebe'er Avraham, be'ur madamu berashi b'shem Tanchuma. So there's a midrash, and that explains what was the real challenge. What did Korah actually say? Because it's a little obscure in the Torah. What did Korah actually challenge Moshe? And the Midrash says that Moshe was teaching the law of tzitzit. And the Torah tzitzit is the tassels that are tied to the corner of the talit, the talis. And in the Torah, there's a paragraph that says,
Techelis, there should be techelis. There should be one of the strings has to be dyed.
Okay.
With the purple.
So it says that we should tie these tassels to the corner.
To the corners of the garment.
To the corners of the garment, and that one threads of this tassel needs to be blue. It needs to be sky blue. That's the chelet, right? So Moses is teaching that to the people, and here's what Korah is how Korah is challenging them, and I'm going to go back to the Slonimer. הלבישן טליתות שכולן תכלת ובאו ועמדו לפני משה. So Korah had his people wear a talit that was completely made of a sky blue thread. In other words, usually a talit is white, and the tassels are white, and then you add one little thread of blue. That was what the Torah teaches us. So Korah comes and challenges Moshe and said, what if I make my whole talit woven out of blue thread? Do I still then have to add an extra blue thread to the tassel? Now that is a good question. If you're adding the blue thread to the tassel that's to a garment that's made out of white, so the blue thread stands out. It's special, has some kind of symbolism. But if everything is made out of blue thread, I mean the whole out of the sky blue thread, the whole garment and all the tassels, you still need to add an additional blue thread. אמרו לו טלית שכולה חייבת בציצית או פטורה. אמר להם, and Moses responded, yes, you have to add that extra blue thread. Now, the Slonimer now gives us some context. The Korah היה בבחינה גבוהה בעבדות השם יתברך. Korah was a very, very high level of divine worship. So it's important because his question did not come from, it wasn't sort of like being a smarty pants, as we call it. It wasn't just somebody from the street who said, oh, what about that? No, he was sophisticated, and he was involved at a very high level in the religious and spiritual and leadership. He was already a leader of the people. And now the Slonimer brings a midrash Rabbah Yudchet Bet. Amru Chachamim, Chacham Gadol haya Korach umitoanei ha'aron. Korach was, the sages said that Korach was a great sage, and he was from those who handled the ark with the 10 Commandments. So we know that inside the tribe of the Levites, there was a hierarchy. So there was the clan of Merari that dealt with all the logistics and carrying, the less important things. There was a clan of the Gershoni that carried the inner sanctum with, with the menorah and with the table and the ark and the more important thing. But there was the clan of Kahat, the Kehati, that were responsible for the Holy of Holies. Only they could deal with the Holy of Holies. And Korah was of the clan of Kahat, the highest clan in the hierarchy. And he was the highest in the hierarchy of his own clan because he dealt directly with the ark that had the tablets of the Ten Commandments. That was the holiest of the holy of all the objects. So he was no spring chicken. And the quality of his divine service was of irat haromimut, the awe of the highest or the glory of the divine. So he was in that place where it took care, where it took some kind of connection to the greatness, to the awesomeness of the divine. And the sages say that was a very high spiritual level. Not anybody could handle that level of exactitude and greatness and awesomeness of divine service. But, say the sages, there's a big but, but the quality of humility and lowliness, that he did not have. He was adept, he was proficient, he was a master of the awesomeness, of the grandeur aspect of divine service. But he had no involvement with the other side of divine service, with the side of humility. Now this is connected directly to this midrash about Korah challenging Moses with the question of a garment that's all woven of sky blue thread. Because sky blue thread symbolizes the grandeur of the divine. Sky blue, sky, it's God the awesome, God of the heavens. And the corner of the garment is a symbol for humility and lowliness, because it's the further away edge, it's the lowest hanging piece of the garment, is the corner. It kind of trails behind. Imagine that you're wearing, a garment. Those days, a garment was kind of like a poncho. Think of a poncho, right? It had a slit. You throw it over your head, and it would be, and where the corners, or what's called literally the wings, they're the lowest, right? They're kind of trailing, waving in the wind behind you, right? וטעותו של קורח הייתה בחושבו, אשר בעבודת אדוני מתוך יראת הרוממות לבד. Korach's mistake, his blind spot, was that he thought that the only thing necessary for divine service is a connection to the divine awesomeness, without lowliness and humility. And he thought that with that, he could also be the high priest. In other words, his claim stands to reason intuitively. I've accomplished, I've attained. I'm plugged into the greatest of the greatest, the highest of the heights, right? I too can be the high priest. And this is how we can understand now the whole question, the whole midrash about Korah asking the question about the talit chelet. What are we understanding here? That when Korah is saying to Moses, I am a garment that is all sky blue. In other words, when he's asking that question, that question is really a way of saying, I am it. I'm that garment. You know, to a garment that's white and you add a little sky blue, you know, you're adding a little bit of awe of the divine. You know, that's for the simple people. You know, simple people, they're white and they have to work on, but I'm all awe. I got it made. I climbed the ladder of spiritual development, and here I am, right? I should be the high priest. What he was saying to Moses, I don't need to pay attention to the corners of my garment. You know, once I'm all, once everything is sky blue, who cares about the garment and about the corner of the garment? In other words, who cares about humility and loneliness? Humility and loneliness have no relevance at my state, is what Korah is saying. And what did Moses respond? Moses says, Chayevet betzitzit. You still need a thread of blue on the corner of your garment. You still need to tend to the corner of the garment. Moses is telling him, you do need the quality of humility. Even if you have attained all the spiritual levels that are available, that's what's required to be the high priest. And that's why you're not worthy of that position, because you do not have that. You have not attained humility. That's what Moses is saying, Korah. You're not yet complete. You have everything but humility. And that's what it's meant when Moses says to Korah, Ve'aron mahu ki talinu alav. And why do you complain about Aaron? And here's what he says. The word ma, right, mahu. So the word ma in Hebrew means, literally, the simple meaning is what. So what or why, mahu could be translated as why. So what is it that you're complaining about Aaron? But the word ma also means humble. Aaron yesh lo midat ma. So what the Slonimer is saying, don't read what is it that you're complaining about Aaron as a question, but read it as a statement. Aaron is humble. Can you really complain about him? Aaron has the quality of humility. So Aaron, mahu, he can be the high priest because he's humble. And it's also explained again in the Gemara, and I'll read. Bet shanim u'mechetza nechleku bet Shammai u'bet Hillel. There are 2.5 years, there was an argument between the house of Shammai and the house of Hillel. הללו אומרים נוח לו לאדם שלא נברא יותר משנברא. Bet Shammai was saying, it's better that the human being was not even created than was created. The human being is so lowly, is so humble, is so really without value that God shouldn't even have created us. It's like the world would have been better without us, right? Beit Shammai. Bet Hillel says, Noach lo adam shenivra mishelo nivra. And Bet Hillel was saying, it's much better. The human being is so great that it's much better that the human being was created, because the world would have been amiss without the unique contribution, the unique greatness that human beings bring to the world. מבואר בספר תשועות, כן, אשר אלו ואלו דברי אלוהים חיים. And in the book Teshuot Chen, and if anybody have heard of Teshuot Chen, and who the Rebbe is, who the commentator is, please feel free to educate us. Leave that in the comments below. So this commentator says, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chaim. Both Hillel and Shammai are the words of the living God. They're both right. And here's how he explains it. אם האדם לעצמו נוח לו שלא נברא, שליבו שבור בקרבו, if a person thinks of himself that he's worthless, that he shouldn't have been even created, following Bet Shammai, that he's heartbroken about it, וכשמגיע לעשות מצווה יודע שאין לו שייכות לזה, and he was trying to practice any kind of spiritual practice, a person, he or she tells him or herself, I'm not even worthy. Who am I to even attempt, spiritual practice? And there's a fear about even attempting to come close to God, to do a mitzvah, to do something of the spiritual, of the sacred. This person, it's great that he has been, or she has been created. That's a worthy human being. Because the divine is very pleased with that kind of person. And obviously now we know where he's going with this, because they have humility. Right? But when a person is very pleased with himself or herself, and feels that he or she are in the category of, it's great that I was created, I'm a gift, I'm God's gift to the universe. He or she are with him or herself, and there's no sense of regret or self-doubt or any of that. This person, even if they're practicing all the practices and are devout and fulfilling, everything on the book in the way of divine service, but because that person has no humility and lowliness, this contradicts the will of the divine. And it would have been better for that person that he or she was never created. And this is what it's meant when Moses says to Korah and Aaron, Mahu, he is nobody, he is humble. Because he knows that Aaron is heartbroken. Because he feels about himself, I am nobody, I'm unworthy for this position. In his own eyes, he is really unworthy. And he feels about himself that he has not merited the privilege of serving in the Holy of Holies, right? Only the priest can go into the Holy of Holies, right? The only person among all the priests is a high priest. Aaron is the only one who goes in there to perform ritual. And he feels like, why me? It's like I have no I have no fit. I'm not fit for this. And the only reason that he is fulfilling his role as a high priest is because he was commanded by the Holy One. Even though he himself knows that he's not the right person for it. That's Aaron. And that's the difference between Aaron and Korah. Right? The inner attitude.
The idea of deserving the feeling that everyone is born with a tafkid, with a purpose, with a type of a personality. And our whole life is basically trying to figure out sometimes, who am I? What am I meant to be in this world? What are my talents that I can utilize? What am I created to do? A river knows what it needs to do. A river doesn't look up at the trees and say, those trees, that's a good job. I want to be a tree. Why can't I be a tree? But human beings, sometimes we have difficulty figuring out what we were put here for. And the bigger problem is that even though we might have an inkling, we have this tendency to always want what the other guy has. I want what he has. Why does he have it? I want that job. How come he gets that job? How come he gets to give the bracha of love on Yantav? I want to give the bracha of love. Hey, wait a minute. Look at your job. You're a Levi. You're a top guy, like you said.
Yeah.
You've got top jobs here. You're not sweeping the streets.
Right.
But it's not good enough because it's never good enough. I feel lacking if I can't do what the other guy is doing, which is the lack of humility based on feelings of jealousy and lack of self-worth. The idea of sameach bechelkai, of being satisfied with oneself, doesn't mean settling for less than one feels they can get out of life. That's not what we're doing. But to understand who I am. I'm a Levi. I'm not the Kohen. I wouldn't be good at being a Kohen. I don't want to be a Kohen. Let the Kohen be the Kohen. I'm going to be the best Levi I can be.
Okay.
But that's what was missing because of the lack of the humility.
And he's just any Levi. He's the top of the Levites.
He's the top guy. He was Moshe's first cousin.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love your analogy of the river and the trees. In some ways, I envy the river because the river really, it's kind of simple, just follow gravity and that's that, right?
Yeah, but to be a tree is cool, you get to give shade and bear fruit and be so beautiful. I'm looking now at trees here in my backyard, blow the wind around and change colors. Yeah. Being a tree is a good job too, Yeah.
Then imagine if the tree looks up at the stars and say, how come I'm a tree and I'm not a star? But
exactly.
The star then looks up at the next galaxy and says, hey, I'm right. I'm not in the how come I'm not, Milky Way, And that's Korah.
Right. Yes, everyone is holy. The tree is holy and the river is holy too.
Yeah.
But different things to do in this world.
Yeah.
And we need both.
Yeah.
That was missing something,
Yeah, and it's on the theme of needing both. Another piece of this that's inspiring me is that you think that it's either grandeur or holiness. Of humility. So you see the grandeur and humility as two opposites, right? So it's either that or that. Either I'm humble and then I'm great, or I'm great and then I'm great. They say about they have the contest of the the contest, and this guy, he won. He was the top of. He won the top of the 10 most humble people.
Very good.
But I think what the paradigm of Aaron is you have to have both. This is really, really an awesome teaching in accepting where you're at and seeing your role when your role is being fulfilled. And that takes humility. It takes humility, and I think it also takes it takes seeing it on God's terms instead of what society is conditioning you for, and your mother and your father are conditioning you for. Everybody has expectations, or you have to live up to something, or even your own. It's often the case. It's your own arrogance. Your own greediness, or whatever it is, and just be able to know that place where I am fulfilling something that the kach nutzalti, for that I was brought into the world. And then I can say, Noach lo shenivra. It is so good that I was created. And each one of us has, we each one of us has the moments where, wow, so good that I was created. Maybe we be blessed to have that that sense of fulfillment and that sense of divine purpose. It's of Aaron, not to be the Kohen Gadol like Aaron, but to be fulfilling our purpose to the max as Aaron. Amen.
Amen.
Well, with that, we're going to conclude here. Thank you all for joining us here on our Cyber Yeshiva on Facebook and on YouTube. Every Wednesday morning, join us at around 9 o'clock in the morning. We will be here. Come, we'd love to see you next week again. Wishing you good rest of the week. Shabbat Shalom, and Shalom for now.